Alright everybody, in this lesson we're going to be looking at how to solve quadratic equations that could possibly have complex solutions. And so we're going to be reviewing the quadratic formula once again. Just remember, whenever you're using the quadratic formula, we want to find the discriminant, which I'm highlighting right here. We want to find that first. Okay, so that's the very first thing that we're going to be finding. Just remember, b squared minus 4ac, that is what is called the discriminant. Okay, it's going to be the number one thing you're going to need to do. Next thing we need to do is we need to identify our a, b, and c values so we can use our quadratic formula. Just remember, in standard form, it's always ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So if we scan this right here, we can clearly see that our a value is right there in front of the x squared. It's negative 5. Our b value is right here in front of the x, even though you can't see it. That's a 1. Call it 1x. Alright, and our c value is right there at the end. It's a 2. So what we're going to do is we are going to find the discriminant first. So we're going to do b squared minus 4ac. So I'm going to use a set of parentheses right here. So we're going to plug in the number 1 right here. We're going to square it. Minus 4 times my a value, which is negative 5, and my c value, which is a 2. Now we have 1 squared, which is 1. We've got negative 4 times negative 5, which is positive 20, times 2 is positive 40. So we're going to take the 1 and the 40 and we're going to add it together to get a total of 41. And that right there is the value of our discriminant. Now that's going to go inside the radical. So we're going to basically take the square root of 41. So we're going to take that 41 and put it right here. Now 41 is a prime number, so we can't break down the radical, so you won't have to simplify it. So it'll make this problem be pretty straightforward and simple. So now we're just going to plug in all the numbers. I'll do it right over here so you can clearly see it. It says negative b. Well, if our b value is 1, then we have to lead out with negative 1. We do plus or minus the square root of our discriminant, which is 41, all over 2 times my a value. Well, 2 times my a value is negative 5, which makes it a negative 10. So we're left with negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 41 all over a negative 10. Okay? So one thing we have to look at is we want to look right here. We have a negative divided by a negative, which turns that into a positive. So let's go ahead and split this so you can see how you're supposed to write it. So we have a negative 1 over a negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 41 over a negative 10. Alright, forgot the negative right there. There we go. Now a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we have 1/10. Now here's the thing. It really doesn't matter. This negative will cancel out that negative and make it positive, and that negative times that positive will keep it negative. So we can just literally leave it as plus or minus the square root of 41 over 10, because it's not going to matter, because this negative will cancel out that and make it a positive, but that times positive will keep it negative, so it just keeps that the same. The main thing you need to simplify is this one right in here. You have to recognize that that turns into a positive, which helps me select the correct answer choice, which looks like it's going to be answer choice D right there. Okay, we'll do another one and see how this goes. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to identify our a, b, and c values. So I'll put ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. I'm going to identify my a value. My a value is 3. My b value, this case, if it says negative x, that means your b value is going to be a negative 1. And then we have our c value right here. That's easy. Our c value is 4. So once again, what are we going to do? We're going to find our discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Right. If you haven't written it down already, you might want to write this down right here. This is the quadratic formula. I'm going to label it. If you want to pause the video and write it down in your journal, if you don't have that, you should. This is something we have done already this year. You should have done it also in Algebra 1. So there's a quadratic formula. Alright, so here we go. We're going to take our b value and we're going to square it. So negative 1 squared minus 4 times our a value, which is 3, times our c value, which is a 4. So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Now we have a negative. Negative 4 times 3, which is negative 12, times 4, which is negative 48. Now 1 minus 48 becomes negative 47. So now we have a discriminant that is negative. Alright, so now we're going to end up having a complex solution instead of a real solution. Alright, so we're going to write everything out nice and neat. Once again, we're going to start with, I'll go ahead and rewrite the quadratic formula right here. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 ac, all divided by 2 times a. So let's go ahead and plug things in. If our b value is a negative 1 and we plug that in, a negative times a negative makes it a positive, so we have a positive 1. Plus or minus the square root. We already found our discriminant. Our discriminant is right here. You'll notice this b squared minus 4ac is this part in the formula right there. So we know our b squared minus 4ac, our discriminant, ends up becoming a negative 47 all over 2 times my a value. So 2 times 3 is 6. Now whenever you're trying to simplify the square root of negative 47, here's what you need to understand. The square root of negative 47 breaks down into the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 47. But what we learned about imaginary numbers is the letter I, which represents imaginary number, is represented by the square root of negative 1. So we're technically left with I radical 47. Alright, so square root of negative 47 ultimately becomes I radical 47. So here's how I'm going to write it. 1 plus or minus radical 47 all over 6, but we're going to put the I right there. So we're going to break this fraction down. We have 1 over 6, so 1 divided by 6 is 1/6, plus or minus the square root of 47 over 6, and we're just going to stick the I right there, and you should be able to clearly see the answer that I'm going to be choosing. Alright, 1/6 right there, plus or minus square root of 47 over 6 times I, which is answer choice B in this particular case. And there you go. Alright, if you happen to miss one of these, my suggestion is, see where it says see step-by-step solution, you can go over there. Alright, and you can see how they work through it. Looks like they start with the discriminant first as well. Alright, there's the quadratic formula, and it kind of shows you how you plug it in, or you can rewatch the video and see if it helps. Hope you're having a good day, and hope your family as well.